To call the 8/12 meeting to order at 7:36. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Willett.
No problem.
Okay, if we could go to the approval of agenda. I don't think we're adding anything and we're not moving anything, so we are.
Actually, Ashley, I wanted to make a motion to move H4 to H1. And that is based on some multiple emails we received from the public. And I think that Dr. Willett deserves to hear about his contract before we move on, so it doesn't get too late.
I'd like to second that motion. This is Kate Howard Bender.
Okay, any discussion? Does anyone have anything to say? If you could lower your hands, because we'll just do a roll call vote and I'll just go through everyone. Tony?
Aye.
Okay. Karen?
Sorry, are we voting
Yes.
or just discussing?
There was no discussion. No one
Oh,
had
okay.
anything,
So
so.
I'm aye, obviously. Aye.
Okay, yep. Flord?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Okay, Rini?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
And I'll be an aye as well. Therefore, we will move H4 to H1, making, can we just bump them down? So we will have superintendent contract 1, then we'll do the school calendar as 2, and then pandemic response 3, and then civility policy as 4. Okay. Next, we'll go to approval of minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve the July 13th, 2020 special meeting minutes.
Jacob Mark, I move that we approve the July 13th special meeting minutes.
Christina Plort, second.
Okay, I just need any discussion. Do any members have anything they'd like to say? You know what, you could lower your blue hands if you have anything, then we can raise them up and then go from there. If not, then we will do a roll call. If you approve, say aye. If you don't, you can say nay, or you can abstain. Tony?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Plord?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Kate?
Sorry. Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, the July 13th special meeting minutes are approved as is. And then we can entertain a motion for July 15th special minutes.
Jacob Mari, I move that we approve the July 15th special meeting minutes.
Christina Plort, second.
Are there any discussion, any comments, anything needs to be changed? I see everybody looking, so I'm assuming we can just go to the roll call vote. We'll start with Tony.
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Plord?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
Dana?
If you said Dana, I say aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Kate?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, those are approved for the July 15th. We'll move to the July 22nd minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve those.
Jacob Mari, I move that we approve the July 22nd meeting minutes.
Christina Plort, second.
Any discussion? Are there any changes or anything of that nature? Oh, Rini?
I just wanted to say in the future, I think we can do these in a block. Like we could say all of them, and then if anyone wants to talk about anything in specific, and then we can probably just do it all at once in 3 go rounds. But
sometimes I do that, but if there's a lot of them, like we have a lot of the special meetings, I just want to make sure that we are ducks in a row, Rini. Okay, so, what was I say? Roll call vote, Tony? Oh, you're muted, but you're saying aye. Karen,
Aye.
Lord,
Aye.
Griffin,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Rini,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Kate.
Aye.
Okay, I'm also an aye. Those are approved as is. Next on the agenda will be the public participation. Tony will be the timer and he will give a visual and vocal 30 seconds when it's left. If you could please remember to state your name and address for our clerk, and board members can respond during points of information, and we can go from there. So if any public would like to speak at this time, if you could please raise your hand and I will call upon you. Liz Costa.
Hi, thanks everybody. I just want to say thank you to all of you for all the hard work you've done about the pandemic response and opening schools. Secondly, I'd like to say I hope you overwhelmingly approve Dr. Willett's extension. And thirdly, I would like to just say I originally sent a letter indicating I didn't care about the difference between September 8th or September 1st, but because so much PPE has been delayed, I would prefer September 8th to give kids an opportunity to wear the PPE at home before going to school. So thank you very much, and thanks for all the hard work you're all doing.
Thank you. And you did state your address, correct?
I did not. Thank you for reminding me. Liz Costa, 54 Josiah Lane.
Perfect. See, I'm trying to remember for Lisa, because I forget sometimes. If anyone else would like to speak at this time, please raise your hand and I will go down the list. And if you're on the phone, it's *9. Emma Browning.
Hi, Emma Browning, 19 Charles Street in Tolland. I'd like to talk about something that I view as a very big hole in Tolland's education system, sex education. I've already talked to Ms. Howard Bender before about this. So essentially, the CDC recommends that 16 topics be covered for sex education. In Tolland, only about 4 were covered. In my experience in 9th grade, they spent about a quarter on mental health, and they spent the rest of the year dealing with STDs and HIV/AIDS, which is a state requirement. But when I was doing a presentation, I actually learned that only about half of my class knew what the word contraception meant. So there's a lot of gaps in the education. About 3% of Connecticut high schools, about 3% of Connecticut students report having sex before the age of 13, and 30% and 33% of high school students, which meant that if any of the students in my class fell into that category, the results could have been catastrophic. I also remember kids talking about nudes and sexting as early as 7th grade. I believe that the school should follow all 16 of the CDC's guidelines to further our sexual health, and it will also save the state and probably the town money. So I would like to recommend that Tolland set an example by adhering to all CDC guidelines, particularly focused on sexting, nudes, and child pornography laws, the importance of different forms of contraception, which make up 5 of the 16 CDC guidelines. Tolland covered none of that. Objective abortion access, if possible. That may be controversial. I'd also like to propose that it become more inclusive, that they include gender, sexuality, gender identity, possibly by including CSA in some of these conversations. I believe that currently the education is very lacking and could potentially be dangerous to students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma. Christopher's iPhone. Christopher, iPhone, you are up.
You know what? I'm used to doing this on my laptop for work, and I forgot to hit unmute on my phone. So my apologies. But this is Chris Rose, Rozea. I live on 16 Lemmick Lane, Tolland, Connecticut. But the question I have, and I appreciate and duly note the effort that both Board of Ed and Dr. Willett have done with respect to these uneasy times and trying to navigate through it. But I fully support the A-B hybrid schedule. I just wanted to see if there's, and I believe my wife may have emailed Dr. Willett already, but I wanted to see if there's flexibility with respect to the A and B schedule. Like, specifically for me, I'm on conference calls pretty much throughout the day, so it's very difficult for me to disengage and try to help them at home. My wife is off Mondays and Tuesdays, but works Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I wanted to see if when that's finalized, if there's flexibility as to what days the actual I have one daughter going into CAS and I have one daughter going into the middle school. If there's flexibility as to the days that they can go for the 2 days a week.
Okay. Thank you very much, Christopher. At this time, any other members of the public would like to speak, please raise your hand. Colleen?
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad there's so many participants here tonight. And I'm also glad that you moved up the superintendent's contract. And thank you, Dr. Willett, for taking a freeze. A lot of families have had to go through that. I know ours has. But I'm just looking forward to hear more about the civility policy. And I also just want to know how you're held accountable on there. It's nowhere on your, I don't think it's called a policy, but no, it doesn't seem like there's any way to hold people accountable if they don't follow what you've created. But I'm looking forward to a good discussion on that. And I know staff and teachers have a social media policy, and I'm wondering, I know when I served on the board, we talked about it, but we never followed through, and I wish we did. So I'm just wondering if that's something that could be looked at. And then also Kate Howard-Bender, I want to thank you for the other night at the track meeting about any possible legal ramifications if someone gets sick from staff or students, or even worse, have to go to the hospital and be put on ventilators, so forth. I think that's very important that the school can protect themselves. So I think that's should be maybe talked about a little bit more. Or Dr. Willett, maybe you could reflect on that, since other people, a lot more people are on this call. And nobody's going to be happy with what's going on right now. We're all in this together, and I appreciate all volunteers and staff and teachers and families in our town. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to Sarah.
Hi there. My name is Sarah Sroka. I live at 58 Mountain Laurel Drive. I just want to start off by thanking the Board of Ed for your hard work and dedication over the last few months. I know that this has been a challenge for all, and I certainly want to commend Dr. Willett over the past few months as well. His hard work over the course of this year, he's done a phenomenal job during this pandemic, especially on the TRAC committee. I am not on the TRAC committee. However, I have been participating as a parent. And I'm an educator in Tolland County, and I fully trust Dr. Willett's plan. And I feel that moving forward with the hybrid model and reevaluating every certain number of days is certainly in the best interest of our students in Tolland. And I really appreciate all his hard work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Let's go to the iPhone. It just says iPhone. So if you plugged in your name as just iPhone, I am speaking to you.
Would that be me?
That would be you. If we could just get a name and address.
My name is Marisol Roberts, and I live in 459 South River Road. So again, I just want to piggyback.
Can you come back?
Can you put this stuff in your garden?
Dr. Willett, if you could please mute S on here, because S is popping up and there we go. Perfect. Okay, you can start over again.
I just wanted to piggyback. I think everyone's trying to do their best, and there's no winners or losers here. I just wanted to, and maybe I'm late in this, but what happens with those that both parents work and they had the before and after school? I'm just wondering about that. I don't have a problem with hybrid if that's what we have to do, and taking it day by day for me works because I know that we have to try things out. But I'm just wondering what that solution is for those people who don't have that flexibility to be able to take off work 2 days, 3 days a week. So that was just my question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go to Mary Rose.
Oh, sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Mary Rose DeBerrick, 37 Ryan Road. I'll be real quick. I want to thank everyone, and especially Dr. Willett and your team. It's a great plan. But I actually think that reopening the schools isn't just a school problem or a school issue. I believe it's the entire community. And I'd really like to see other members of the town officials working on ways maybe to provide assistance to those families that need assistance with childcare during the remote learning days. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you, everybody.
Hey, Mary Rose, did you give your address?
Yep, 37 Ryan Road.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's go to Kate Vallow.
Hi there, Kate Vallow, 80 Hollins Green. Thank you, everybody, for your time in advance, and thank you to the board and to Dr. Willett for all of your efforts as we prepare for the reopening of school this fall. I just wanted to chime in. I had the pleasure of attending the superintendent virtual office hours yesterday, and something that Dr. Willett said really resonated with me. And I just wanted to share here that my understanding is that Dr. Willett has been integrating information that he's gleaned from staff, local health professionals, EHHD, families, the Board of Ed, track, a variety of community members. And something he said as he's been working through trying to create the plan that's going to make the most sense for our district is that when it comes down to it, he's interested in making the plan that's going to keep our community as healthy as possible and really protect our student body. So I wanted to thank him directly for that. I wanted to, express a wish for full support of him to continue doing that. And I wanted to thank him for being the kind of superintendent that we can trust to keep our kids as safe as possible. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Kate. I think we got all of our blue hands. So at this point, we will move to correspondence, and that would be Tony.
Okay, so excuse me as I look away from the camera for a little bit, but as requested, we did correspondence a little bit differently this time. So instead, we've got numbers. We got a total of 73 emails that touched on either the full-in hybrid plan or the start dates. Of course, not each one of them articulated both, but break that up. So 43 of the emails talked about either the hybrid or the full-in. Of those 43, 67.4% preferred the partial in-person, and 32.6% preferred the full-in. Okay, also, of those emails, 31 of them talked about the start date. 25.8% preferred the 1 September, and 74.2% prefer the 8 September.
Dr. Willett, if you could please just mute Christopher's iPhone again. Okay, and now we lost Tony. I don't think he was done. Are you good, Tony?
Yeah, sorry, I had to open the door, but no, yeah, those are the numbers.
Okay, so you are.
There was other emails that touched on other subjects. Are you going to talk about those too, Tony?
And no, I didn't have that. I just focused on those for these.
Okay.
This correspondence report.
So let's go to points of information. And if we, Dr. Willett, if you can clear the board of the blue hands so we can get our board members to raise hands. But I am going to go first on the points of information. And this I wrote down. So.
Okay, all blue hands are lowered. That's what you were looking for, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Willett. That way we
Yeah.
can have our board members.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just some clarification. Straw polls are non-binding votes. They show where people stand. Votes like these do not make official decisions. That morning during leadership meeting, Dr. Willett requested that we take a straw poll at night as he was in a time crunch with the state. Therefore, I obliged. We can take a straw poll every meeting if we would like. However, if members are absent, it's okay too. We do need a quorum for any official votes. Straw poll votes are not considered official. We do need to move forward with information and discussions. There are plenty of meetings where we're missing members. The process does not stop. Prior to deciding if we're going to postpone the meeting, I did send out an email to board members asking a couple questions as I was without power and internet. So my questions were if everyone was okay after the storm, and 2, if delaying the meeting a day or 2 would be preferred. The responses I received were that we need to have the meeting due to the time limitations set by the state, and people would find a way to attend. Therefore, we proceeded with the meeting. Another point of information from that leadership meeting was what to put on the agenda. Wells said that we would need reopening protocols and start dates. Tony, chair of policy, wanted a first policy read. Dr. Willett put the items in order. We were waiting for all 9 members to be in attendance for Dr. Willett's evergreen clause, which is a well-known fact that a vote for a superintendent's extension would not even take place if the motion were not to be confirmed with a majority. To question our integrity as a board is very insulting. Once again, the rumors fly and people take it as truths. There's always a method to the madness, and it isn't always devious. So now with that, we will go to Jacob.
Thank you, Ashley. This is also in response to a lot of the emails we've gotten. So I understand that there has been some, I'm going to cover the straw poll a little bit too. I hope I don't beat a dead horse, but I understand that there's been some consternation over having the straw poll last meeting instead of tonight. Again, I wanted to reiterate that I supported having the straw poll that evening because it was critical that Dr. Willett had time to digest the opinions of the board. As he indicated at the last meeting, the state wanted a plan by last Wednesday, so in order to give him as much time as possible to think about our opinion and the opinions of the staff and parents, we voted at the last meeting. I certainly care about what the public thinks. I've been reading each email and responding to many of them, but we needed to give him that time. And also, of course, that straw poll is non-binding. Second, I'd like to reiterate why I voted during that straw poll in support of in-person schooling. And I understand that there are some strong opinions on this issue. Obviously, it's a very important issue, but I want to clarify why I voted the way I did, because people of Tolland deserve that clarity. Quoting from the Pandemic Continuity of Learning Plan presented on July 24th for the town of Tolland, the state of Connecticut is basing the decision to return all students to in-person learning on research that suggests schools have not played a significant role in the transmission of COVID-19, and Connecticut public health data suggesting Connecticut has relatively low rates of prevalence and transmission. Research also suggests that children are less likely than adults to be infected with the virus and are less likely to transmit it to others. Further, students being out of school has challenges and consequences of its own, including social, emotional, familial, and economic impacts that can have dire consequences. The document goes on to say that, quote, the state of Connecticut has directed districts to take a tiered approach, starting with and hopefully maintaining in-person schooling for the 2020 to 2021 academic year, but planning on partial in-school and online options in the event of an escalation in the prevalence of the disease. In-person instruction has clear advantages over online methods in terms of both academics and mental health, including helping students manage anxiety and trauma, end quote. Given the low rates of transmission between students and the favorable statewide conditions, I believe that in-person schooling is certainly worth a try at this moment in time. Also, students with fragile medical conditions won't be forced to attend in person, instead be doing some form of remote learning or in a special program with even more precautions. However, the plan that Dr. Will presented to TRAC earlier this week and will present to the board tonight is a good plan that I believe provides a good deal of flexibility and safety for students and staff. I just want to make it clear, and again, we're going to talk about this later, but I do support this plan and I will do what I can to make it successful. I think our students deserve the cooperation on that issue, and I don't want to let anything go to waste by having some sort of divisive argument. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. Let's go to Plord.
I'll keep it quick. I just wanted to thank everyone that sent in emails or got on this call and got up and spoke. It takes a lot of courage to get up and speak at a meeting. The engagement, the concerns, the civil conversations on the points we disagreed on. I just have to say that that's what leads to compromise and that's what leads to progress. So thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to list the other types of emails that we received because I think that every one of our residents that took the time to write into us deserves to have that articulated in our meeting. So I also kept a chart, Tony. So we had one email that had asked us to use data and input from parents. We had 4 emails that asked us to make a decision, 5 emails asking about childcare concerns, 3 emails asking us to do BOE meetings in person, 1 who thought that support staff should be paid for prep, 1 who asked that a 5-day cohort should be an option, 5 who had a major problem with the straw poll, 1 who thought we should start with half days, 2 who were upset with the communication, and they were upset with that, 1 who was an employee, 1 who had a question about how to return safely, 2 who had questions about special ed, 3 who had concerns about the way that board members conducted themselves on social media, 3 who were asking us to move up the contract, 1 who asked about students who were out of district, and 7 were mostly about lauding Dr. Willett's efforts. And I believe that the information that Mr. Mari cited was actually from the July 24th information. So, you know, that information, just like everything else in this pandemic, is subject to change. So I just wanted to get that on the record as a clarification point. So I think that's really it. I just want to make sure that all of our constituents are actually heard.
Okay, Dana?
Thank you, Ashley. First of all, I'd like to echo what several board members have already said. I'm very appreciative of all of the correspondence that everybody sent in. It was overwhelming, the amount of emails we got in, and I apologize for the dog barking in the background. But the engagement from the community is paramount for our success. And I think it's also paramount for us to navigate through these waters and to support each other and to come to some sort of understanding when it comes to differing of opinions and such. I too had good banter with folks back and forth, and I was educated by folks in the community, and I hope that, you know, some of the things that I said helped them kind of digest some of the information that's been published and that they're receiving. But I also wanted to tack on to the correspondence, and I actually went back to every email that was sent in regards to this pandemic and opening, which is months ago. So with that being said, 75.8% and 20 was for partial in person, and 24.2 was for full return, or there was actually 24, and then there was a couple of just all online, but it was matters of a point. And then 80% of the folks that wrote in were for a later start. Some were 9/8 or even later for PPE or preparation, class prep training, those different things, and 20% were for 9/1. One thing that was quite alarming to me was some of the correspondence that talked about town officials, board members, and behavior, whether it be in our meetings or on social media or what have you. We are a reflection of the community, whether we're in our personal space or not. I'm still Dana the mom. I'm still Dana the Board of Education member. I'm still Dana the manager at my business. I'm still Dana the wife and sister and daughter. So whether it's our perfect personal social media, or if it's on public pages, it still is social media. And whether or not we're talking as a board member, we're talking about ourselves, we still have that hat that we wear. So we just need to be cognizant of that and just make sure that we are utilizing our utmost behavior on people that we would like to have representing us and people how we would think people would like us to represent them. And that's the entire community. And then my last thing that I'd like to bring up was the straw poll. And yes, Ashley did ask us all if we'd be able to be in attendance, and it was paramount that we had that meeting, even with the internet issues. I was the one who actually had probably the most internet issues. I was popping in and out multiple times, so my apologies. But what I will say, I would have been, the straw poll was 6-1. If I was actually on the call, it would have been 6-2. But again, I would have questioned the straw poll and the reasoning for doing it or the legalities of doing it. One of the things that I recall on my very first Board of Ed meeting was us talking about the Roberts Rules books and how we were going to follow it to the law. On page 429, straw poll is not in order. A motion to take an informal straw poll to quote unquote test the water is not in order because it neither adopts nor rejects a measure, and hence it is meaningless and dilatory. If an assembly wishes to discuss and take a vote on a matter without the vote constituting final action by the assembly, it may instead vote and go into a committee of a whole or a quasi-committee of a whole. Under these procedures, the assembly considers the matter would be a committee, and its vote while in the committee of the whole or quasi-committee of the whole serves only as recommendation to the assembly, which the assembly is free to reject, and as would be the case in regard to the report of any ordinary committee. So it's our job as a Board of Education, and not Dr. Willits. He works in correspondence. He works for the Tallinn Public School System. But us as Board of Education members, I think it's paramount that we know what our roles and responsibilities are and what our guidelines are. And that's all I have to say about that. So thank you, everybody.
Karen?
Thanks, Ashley. I'll just reiterate what a few others said, and thank you to those that wrote in. It was hard to keep up with all the emails. I tried to respond to some. I kind of lost track, and so I apologize to those that didn't get a response from me. But it was great to feel the engagement in this very, very crucial decision for our school district. I was recently out of state, getting my daughter off to college. So I was absent from the 8-5 meeting. I was completing the parent survey actually that Wednesday night, which I was well aware as a board member that Dr. Willett was planning on doing a second survey. So while out of state, I did fill it out. I was a little dumbfounded to find out later that there was a straw poll conducted without all members present and also without relevant data to base it on, and during a power outage. So I'm extremely disappointed, and I really want us to question what is driving our decision-making as a board. In this age of so much information at our disposal, anybody can find an article to support their position. And within those articles, you really have to decipher what the author is saying. And yes, there are opinion pieces. Some are science journals, some are, whatever have you. But in this information age of constant information, I think we need to be very careful about what we're listening to, and reflect on the work that our staff and superintendent are doing constantly to get ready for schools to open. And that should be based on the data they are collecting, and they are the experts. So, and they are the ones that are going to have to do the work. They are the ones that are going to have to prepare. They are the ones that are going to be in front of the students. So I just want to make sure that we are reflecting carefully. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. At this time, any other board member have any blue hands? If not, we will move on to the student representatives report. And I don't see any other ones, so we will move to Alexandra and Mark.
Hey, Ashley?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my hand, it wasn't up, but it was intended to be.
Go ahead, Tony.
My apologies. Just a couple quick points, and I just want to chat. Caroline, we'll talk a little bit about the civility policy today, more of it in the next meeting when we do the second read. But we will go into a little bit of the background there. Social media policy is on the list of topics to be discussed, at least in the committee. I don't know if a policy will come out of that, but to be discussed from a prioritization perspective. I know Dr. Willett and I were talking earlier today that the amount of policies we need to deal with specifically relating to what we've got over the next few months is going to increase like triple. So we will get to it. I just can't tell you when. Just to Dana, I'm absolutely thrilled what you read out of the Roberts Rules. We have the voting and quorum policy. Policy committee will be taking a look at, and that quote you read actually is one of the documents that we've brought up, as well as a couple of the interpretation discussions on that. So I would absolutely love for you to be a part of that conversation. I'll make sure you're aware when that hits the agenda.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you for throwing her a wave. I'm appreciative to those of you who smiled and threw her a wave. Thank you.
But as far as just a general note from my perspective, I hold Dr. Willett in very high respect. And while I absolutely am appreciative of the work he's doing, the work his team is doing, in no way do I want questions to be considered disrespect for that effort. Quite the opposite. I think a respectful debate is critical, and would probably ask and look into the information and try to make sure that I fully understand and can find any holes in that to help it get better. So while I understand what people are saying, I hope, and Dr. Willett, I hope it's not something that, causes a fly in your ointment, but I think the questions and the probing are critical to getting the product that we want out of it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No problem, Tony. Once again, now we will go to the student representatives, Alexandra and Samar. So there we go.
Everyone, we don't have much, but seniors who had their March SATs canceled are getting ready to take SATs now. There's one on August 29th, and then there's another on September 23rd. So I know a lot of seniors are choosing between the two. Some are taking both.
And something else that I want to mention is how I've talked to a couple of my friends and some students, and I feel like our technology policy for COVID could be better because many of them don't know how they can access Chromebooks, and obviously technology is going to be very vital if we do remote learning and partial learning. So I feel like we could do better with the message being crossed for that, and that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sorry, Ashley. Does Dr. Willett
Day,
get to do points of
I don't know if it's my
information?
internet or what, but everybody is at a standstill.
Does Dr. Willett get to do points of information?
Did I lose everyone?
Ashley, can you hear me?
I don't think she can hear us.
Okay, everyone's good now?
Ashley,
Dr.
can you
Okay.
hear us?
I can hear you guys. For a minute, everyone was just frozen. So I'm assuming our student reps are all set because it got kind of cut off. So, okay, so we will go to the superintendent's report, which we have moved H1 of the superintendent contract to the H1. So we will
Sorry, point of order. I'm sorry. Does Dr. Willett get to respond to the points of information as well?
Did you have anything, Dr. Willett?
I would say that for Chromebooks wise, thank you for bringing that up. And we're in the process of working out. We have a number of Chromebooks already kind of deployed to the community. We sent out a survey that asked who could give them back up. And we're in the process of going into collecting those. And as soon as we get them collected and in position, we're going to put out again to see who needs them. And it'll go strictly to the most needy families first. And then beyond that, we're hoping, and I have filed paperwork for additional Chromebooks. I'm just not sure if we're going to get them yet. So as soon as we have that information, we'll put it out. And that should be coming in the next few weeks. There has been some information about Chromebooks in the bulletins, but we don't know how many we're actually going to get from the state yet, if any at all. So we're kind of in a place where we're trying to work that out, but we will definitely get information out there. And I know there were a couple of other things, but I can leave it there if you want me to right now.
Whatever you would like. If there's something else you want to add on, tack it on. But if not,
well, the only other one I can think of is legality. I think there was a question about legality and maybe liability. I'm not sure I heard it completely correctly, but the district, as long as we're following through with with the recommendations of the Highland Health District, we should be in a good place from a standpoint of any liability. Excuse me. So that we should be in a good place as long as we're not doing anything morally or ethically incorrect, and we're sticking to the guidelines and what we believe is best in following what the state provides as well. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it there.
Okay, perfect. So we will go to the H1, the superintendent's contract for the Evergreen cause.
So I can give you a little lead-in narrative on this if you want.
Sure.
Okay. So so this is H4 in your agendas. Probably need to jump down to it. It's closer to the end now because it was moved up. But as discussed earlier in the process, when we started or just before the evaluation process started, I let you know that I would not be interested, nor would I be seeking any kind of increase for this year, understanding the situation that the town, the community is in, that isn't something that I would be looking for, and hoping that any of those funds could be used just to protect other jobs and other people. At this point in time, typically during the year, or maybe a little bit earlier, because just things get pushed back with all the things going on. It's a yearly process where you look at it and kind of decide whether you want to extend the superintendent's contract for 3 years. Again, so each year you add on that year. That way, it's always 3 years. The choice of not doing that just leaves it with less. And so right now, what you have as a Board of Education to decide is whether you want to make the motion to extend or do the motion for the contract without extension. Because I did not seek any kind of increase this year, the terminology that we would be able to use is, a freeze of the salary and medical insurance for the 2020-2021 year. So that can be stated either with or without the extension, and that's at the discretion of the board. So these two motions are put there for you for ease of use, whichever the board decides ultimately to do.
Okay. So at this time, we can discuss if there's any other discussion, or if there's no extra discussion, then I do see that we would have to move it to the board action. At this time, would anyone have something to say? I'll go from the blue hands up to the top. So Christina, floor.
Oh, I was just going to make the motion to move it to board action.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Dana?
Okay, sorry, operator error. So this is our opportunity. Would you like me to second a motion, or would you like me to, are we having open conversation? My apologies.
Let me go through everyone and see if they have something to say, and then we can always just go back and get Flor to make the motion and then.
Okay, okay. So you're starting with me.
So if you have something to say, feel free right now.
Okay, you said Dana, so I was like, okay. Normally I'm after Rini when you do the roll call, so I'm confused.
I'm just going down with the blue hands.
I rely on that strict structure.
Okay, just go down right with the blue hands.
Okay, beautiful, thank you. Then I will start, my apologies. First and foremost, I want to commend Dr. Willett on the excellent job he has been doing as our superintendent pre-pandemic and while during the pandemic. I don't know if I'd want to be in his shoes, having to deal with the crumbling foundation, moving kids into a portable, fighting for state assistance, going through that move, now, having the new school being built, and then boom, a pandemic comes in. We've been on the board since last November, and the majority of our term has been through a pandemic. I will say there's been nothing about my term on the Board of Ed that's been normal. But Dr. Willett's guidance and thorough communication through his dashboards, through his emails, through his text blasts, have been very informative, and helped myself as a board member, but also feedback that I've been receiving from the community, that he's been very thorough. I find it very comforting that he is leading our charge and leading the way. He has been leading us with passion for the town of Tolland, passion for the Tolland public school system, true care of our students and the staff, and that's evident in the plan that he has proposed to ensure ultimate safety while providing a solid education for the students in Tolland. I feel very strongly in the fact that we should extend for Dr. Willett. He is one of the reasons when many families have moved to this town was for the school system, and been him leading that charge in the school system. I definitely think that he's fair, consistent, as well as listening to all aspects of different ideas from all facets of any kind of situation. And he makes himself available so that he can comprehend, understand, digest, and execute a plan based on difference of opinion. So I am grateful that he is our superintendent. We're still working on developing our relationship in hopefully a normal environment sometime soon, Dr. Willett. But I am appreciative, and I will say a lot of the correspondence that we've received via email, a lot of the correspondence that I've received when I'm out and about, whether it be at Big Y or wherever I'm at, is there's a lot of families and staff that are supportive of Dr. Willett and his efforts and his due diligence and his flexibility to take care of our community as a whole. So that's what I have to say at this point in time, and I will defer anything else to the next person in line. Thank you.
Perfect. We will go to Kate next.
I would just like to motion for the extension. It's my understanding that according to Robert's rules, and tell me if I'm wrong because I'm just getting reacquainted with it. We should be discussing after we make a motion. Is that accurate, Ashley?
Correct. You will have another opportunity once we move it, because the way that I don't like the way that the agenda is set up is that, like, something like this, I feel like it should be under just board action. But this is an opportunity to talk about the topic before it's moved to board action. To me, it kind of should just be there. But
okay, well,
anyways.
I'm 100%.
Before any vote, there is always that discussion part. It seems as though Tolland has taken on the talking in it underneath the superintendent's portion and then moving actions into the board action area. So that's kind of just how it's been done.
Okay. So I'm 100%.
Really need discussion later. It could still happen now. But we will still ask if there's any other discussion.
I think we'd be crazy not to extend his contract for 3 years. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Karen?
I was just going to say, it'll be almost 7 years I've been on the Board of Education here in Tolland. So I was actually part of the hiring process when Dr. Willett became superintendent. My children have both been through the middle school while he was our principal there. He has always led with compassion and empathy and diligence in everything that he does. And I just wanted to thank everyone that did write in, from our parent, guardian community. Bless you, Ashley.
Sorry.
And everything that they said, I would say ditto. They were very complimentary and thankful for his leadership. And I think that's really important to say here, that we are hearing from our stakeholders in the community, who are a big part of the school system in our school community. And when they see a leader that is doing what he's doing, I think it gives everyone great pause and great respect for what he's doing. And I think Tolland's very lucky to have him. And that's all I'll say for now. I'm sure I'll think of more later, but I'm obviously fully supportive of extending his contract.
Okay, perfect. Tony?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't think I'm going to say anything that's brand new. Certainly within this past almost a year that we've been working with Dr. Willett as this board, have come to appreciate the things that he brings to the table. I certainly appreciate the fact that he is absolutely willing to go through all of the questions and legalese that I like to know before I cast a vote, and willing to give that. We have an incredible amount of work to do to get our school systems where we want it to go. You know, looking at some of the visions and the plans and the directions that we have in front of us, and that's without a pandemic. We put that obvious elephant in the room in front of it, and it takes what was a monumental task and makes it even more so. And with the team that we have, with the board that we have, with our superintendent who is willing to give blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen, I'm confident that that's where we're going to be. And yes, I support the extension and look forward to rolling up the sleeves and putting in the hard work that this team is going to do.
Okay, thank you, Tony. I think at that point, let's bounce back up to Plord.
Ma'am, you can hear me. I support the extension as well. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to move agenda item H1 to board action. So down to K1.
Kate Howard Bender, I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, any discussion about moving it? Okay, let's do the roll call vote. So Tony, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed can say no, or you can abstain. So Tony?
Point of information, this is just to move it
Just to move it to K1.
Oh, aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Lord?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Greenie just disappeared. Dana?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
I'm aye as well. Therefore, we will move the H1 to K1 for board action. And Dr. Willett, if you could just kind of keep an eyeball on Rini, because her little block disappeared.
She's on.
Rainey, are you?
Rini? I think her thing's not right.
I'll keep watching. I have been letting people in because for whatever reason, sometimes it kicks out on them.
Yeah, okay. Where that puts us now is we'll do the H2, the 2020-2021 Talent Public School calendar discussion. Dr. Willett?
Yes, so just to kind of lead you in on this, as you recall, we took a look at the calendar policy, took a look at some calendar possible amendments, and then the board did a week ago on August 5th. I put these together in a way that would allow you to sort of pick which option and you want to include in this or not. So for instance, if you look under starting day and estimated ending day, the option SDC would be basically the current starting day. So you can choose the current starting day or option 1, which is starting day 1, September 1st through June 9th. Option 2 would be starting day 2, September 8th. Similar with the early release half-day conversation, excuse me, that the board had. The current option or early release current option was 7 early release days. That's in the current calendar. Option ER1, which is early release 1, would be every Wednesday throughout the school year. And option ER2 is every Wednesday throughout the school year, plus the first week of school, which was also talked about by the Board of Education. So the motions are designed so that you can mix and match those elements as the board chooses or as it pleases. Right now, in terms of where we are with respect to that, just doing this really quick. I have a bunch of little pieces of info put together here, but so in terms of where everybody was feeling on that, the calendar, you had most people looking for that prototype 3, which just to remind people what the language was on that. Prototype 3 is a September 1st start date with an early release every Wednesday. Prototype 2 is the September 8th start date. So looking at the teacher responses, the red is prototype 2, which is September 8th with early releases, and then followed by prototype 3, which is that September 1 with early releases. So the early releases are popular in both for Wednesdays, September 8th, September 1st. Looking at what the staff felt, which is the non-teaching, non-certified, or some certifieds, but non-teaching staff, non-teaching bargaining unit staff. Again, you're looking at popular for prototype 2, which is September 8th with the every Wednesday half day, followed by again prototype 3, which is the September 1st with the same thing. Every Wednesday's early release. And then finally, when you're looking at parent guardians, parent guardians had a similar dynamic, but not as profound. It was a prototype 2, again, 41% on that for September 8th with early releases Wednesday, and prototype 2 being the September 1st with Wednesday. So having every Wednesday half day was popular in all 3 populations. The September 8 was the most popular in all 3 populations, with September 1st being the second most popular in all 3 populations. So that's just a kind of quick overview of where everybody was at for calendar considerations. I just leave the rest open for your discussion.
I do have a quick question because that September 8th is a Tuesday. And so if we're grouping people by that Monday, Tuesday, are we going to have that A group go the 8th and the 9th, and we're going to skip over for that Wednesday as a half day if that's what ends up happening, Dr. Willett?
Yeah, I can talk about it with the admin and we can work it out. And when we say, we'll broadcast it out there, which we are starting with, I just want to make sure I touch base with them. But we could start that A and B, or it's AA and BB as we go. So if we don't do anything with that, Thursday there, Friday, sorry, which right now would require me working with PDEC. It could be that that we have some combination of the A and B for that week. One of those would probably be odd out, with the Wednesday being the middle week break time, so or cleaning time. So we probably would have one being odd out on that week. So there'd be more of an A and 2 A's and 1 B, or 2 B's and 1 A, depending on how we go with it. And
But we couldn't just have the Tuesday A, Wednesday A, the 10th B, 11th B.
Well, Wednesday in the plan is a cleaning day. So if we were going strictly with the plan, Wednesdays are the half cleaning days.
Okay.
But we can, we can look at that as we go into it.
I mean, I just feel bad if we're pushing it out to the, September 8th, and then you have one group that is only going to get a day, and then you have one that has 2, and it already feels like we're starting the kids so much later, and I feel like we need to educate our students. It just,
Yeah. Probably when we look at it all the way through the year, there'll be a pretty, and it's depending on how late we go into the year, if we have a winter, kind of a couple of winter events, depending on the situation, it'll balance out likely very close by the end of the year.
I mean, off topic, Dr. Willett, are we going to have snow days?
It depends. If it's on our in-person, at some point, depending on where we are, because it's such it's hard to have a crystal ball in this particular situation, but let's say that everything goes extremely well, and then after 20 days, we're all in again, and we're in for 4 or in for 5 days a week. Then if we have snow days, yeah, possibly we would. We'd have to look at how people felt about that as we move a little bit through this. We got to get this handled first, and then we can figure out how people feel about snow days. Some people feel like snow days are also power outage days and tree falling days and things like that might prevent them from focusing strictly on school. So that's why sometimes using a snow day as an online day may not be good. And at this point, that hasn't been a question I've asked of the community yet, because we've been solely focused on this. But we'd have to see, how people felt about that, how the teachers did, and all of that too.
Okay, let me just go up to our board members and go down the list. So we have Flord.
One question and then just a couple things to say. The staff are on the Wednesdays, cleaning days, and forgive me for not knowing this, are they going to be there in person even though the schools are going to be cleaned, or are they working from home that day?
The objective is to have them work from home that day. In this particular plan, everybody works from home on that day.
On that Wednesday, okay. And so I just want to point out to everyone, it doesn't really matter if we do the September 1st or the September 8th in regards to how often the kids are going to be in school, because September 1st and September 8th are both Tuesdays.
No. I can.
I'm in support of, I like the September 8th. I think that the emails were overwhelming for it. The survey was overwhelming for it. My original thought process was September 1st to get the kids in earlier and get acclimated, and just, they haven't been in physical school in so long, but I think I see the importance of pushing that time out and giving people time to plan and really set up so that we can ensure our success with getting the kids in school in person full time. That's my wish. As far as the half days every Wednesday, I guess I question it, and I think it was Rini who would calculate it. If you do that, then that's 13 days of school that they're missing. So that's my dilemma with every Wednesday half days. But I'm willing to hear the discussion from other board members. So that's it, Ash. Thanks.
Let me just get my little hand thing up here. Okay, so let's go to Keith next.
Thank you. So in terms of the first week, I think that we just have to write off a day, because I think that the very first day or the very first week that we have back to school, we are going to have to stick to our protocols with the Wednesday cleaning day. So whatever that means, I think that we have to go with September 8th because of supplies coming in. I think we have to go with September 8th to make sure that everybody has the time to plan, because this is so different from, a normal situation. We are in the pandemic, of course. And I think that in terms of the teacher's ability to continue to get professional development and continue to be their best selves as educators, I think they really need those half days. And it's my understanding that Dr. Willett has already addressed the time, and that we wouldn't actually lose out on time, we would still be really in the clear as far as time goes and well within the requirements for the state. So I don't think that that's actually a concern. It's best for our teachers and our staff to go to September 8th. It's best for the district. It's best for the kids. It's best for the grown-ups. So that I'm all for September 8th with the half days every Wednesday.
Okay. Let's go to Rini next.
Okay, sorry. So I am in support of the September 8th for a variety of reasons. Some have mentioned many, it's well supported throughout the community. I think given that we've kind of moved things back a little bit in terms of, the decision making, now people have a little bit more time to get their ducks in a row about how they're going to manage a hybrid system and that kind of thing. So I think that's important to give them that time. I am concerned about every Wednesday, and although I understand that the number of hours that the kids or the students would be educated according to the state's requirements would still be met, that doesn't negate the fact that they're still losing 13 and a half days. I do understand that the teachers and everybody, all staff, needs some time to get acclimated, get the bugs out, all of this, because it's going to be new. So I had at one time suggested that maybe we could talk about, every other Wednesday, or perhaps, you have a few in the beginning of the year and then use the regular early release schedule or something a little bit less, just to give a little bit more time to the students, because we're clearly going to a hybrid model where they're going to be out of school for 3 days, which remote learning. And I feel like that is really not the same level. So there's a little bit of loss there perhaps. And then also, of course, we lost time at the end of last year, quite a bit actually, with every Friday. And then, the type of remote learning that we were kind of forced into, just due to the situation. So I'm not really in favor of the every Wednesday. I feel like we need to come up with something other than that. I understand it's not going to be an option, but that would be where I would be coming in.
Yeah, and just to clarify too, for everybody that I'm thinking, in a model like the one we're in, it's a half-day early release schedule that so the students end their day. Say if you're a TIS or Birch Grove student, you ended at 12:30. The staff continue to work. So the staff are still working. They're still, doing prep and preparing and all of that. The students, just for instance, a Birch Grove student would go through 12:30 online. So part of it is also giving the kids a little bit of a break from the constant synchronous online stuff, So it's just to give everybody that perspective for where we would be in a partial in person. These half days are virtual half days.
Okay, Rini, you're good then, and I will move to Griffin.
Ashley, I actually have the same concern as Ashley did as far as the AABB that week. I think that would be really difficult for the Monday, Tuesday kids to only get Tuesday. I think it would be really beneficial for them to have the 2 half days if we are going to go with a half day that week, just to kind of meet your teacher, figure out what's going on, to only be in school, I guess, 3 hours that week. And then the next day to immediately have to switch over to the synchronous or the asynchronous learning, I just think would be really difficult. And I'd really like to see us come up with something on the Wednesday, since it is a half day. Can the teachers be released as well that half day and go home, and somehow the custodian staff spends, can we double book them for just that day? I just think it'd be really difficult for a lot of the kids to only have 3 hours and then immediately switch to online. But I am absolutely in favor, and with the September 8th start, I think that there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out. We've heard from a lot of families I know who are concerned about childcare and that kind of thing, and I think that we have to give them the additional time to get that worked out for them. But I'd really like to see the AABB, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday that week. So, and as far as the Wednesdays, I'm kind of, I understand where Reenie's coming from. If we say every Wednesday, we have to commit to the entire school year right now. We can't kind of say, like, can we do it until January and then see if they're still needed? I'm not sure if that's even a possibility, but I just, I'd be curious if, whatever we put forth with the calendar today, we can't change it at all for the rest of the year. That would be my only question. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Jacob.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. So last meeting, I was more in favor of the first, but I think people have spoken with everything. I think that the September 8th is something that I'm in favor of now, especially since just reading through the plan Dr. Willett sent us about, some parents won't even figure out whether their child will be up in the A or B group up until the 24th. And I don't want to rush parents, give them a week or so just to have to find childcare if that's something that they need. So I figure that extra week might be very helpful. Although as far as the Wednesdays go, I'm kind of in the same camp with everyone who's concerned about that. Just to piggyback of what Christine was saying, we've kind of divided the year up into different terms anyways. It's like 9 terms. And I'm wondering if maybe there's some way that we can start to wean ourselves off of the half days once people become more familiar with how things are running somewhere in the middle of those terms. Also, I think, the half days seem to work better with the PIP model or the online remote learning model. If we were able to go up into in-person, I think things would be different. But I would definitely want to see if it's possible for us to maybe phase in with the half days, but not continue throughout the year like that. Oh, and as far as the half days go off for the very first week of school, I'd be in favor of the first week being half days if, again, we could try to decrease the amount as the year goes on.
Okay. Let's go to Karen.
Yes, just wanted to start with a question to Dr. Willett. What is your recommendation, Dr. Willett, as superintendent of our district?
I think it's going to be a hard year. I think the teachers need the time to be able to adjust to all this, and it'll be a very, very large adjustment they have to make. The year has so many components in it that are uncertain with respect to, who will be in and who will be out of their class on a very regular basis, that they're going to have to be constantly making adjustments. And I think that this is one of those situations where if we are able to give this to them, their instruction will actually be of a higher quality than it would be if they don't have that time to constantly adjust and plan. Also, they'll be reaching out and meeting with kids and doing all kinds of things that can't necessarily be done when they're having all the screen time, so to speak. So it's just it's a tough situation. I understand where everybody's coming from on it. We'd be within our days and hours to do it. So thank you for asking, and what I'm getting back from the staff is that they really need that, no matter which group I'm talking to.
So you're referring to September 8th start?
Well, I'm referring to September 8th start and the Wednesday half days.
And the Wednesday half days.
Yeah, September 8th start, I think we need, because there is a lot of things that need to fall in place, and some things we're getting as decisions. We are still getting them right now, which means we have adjustments to make. And that's part of why pushing out is a good idea for a variety of reasons. We have to adjust to so many things.
Absolutely. The preparation for everyone is crucial, and we need the time as far as I can see, to distribute PPE, prepare schedules, and I'm sure a huge list of other things.
Yeah, one other quick thing to think about is there are people that are bringing their kids to colleges. These colleges are sometimes not, the state that they're in may not be, maybe on the list. And so we may have people at the beginning of the year suddenly that have to quarantine that are staff members. If we have September 8th as a start date, we clear a lot of the 2-week quarantine ranges that would be resulting from that. But if we started earlier, we might fall within that range that some people would need to be quarantining. So it just gives us a really good starting position too, without having that be another factor.
And I will just share with folks that are on the call tonight, as a parent who just dropped her child off in another state that is on the list, we consulted with the Eastern Highland Health Districts and were instructed to get tested before we came back. So we did do that, or you would have to quarantine for the 14 days by coming back to Connecticut. So we did get tested. Our results we received while we were on the road. And I will just say that there are plenty of families vacationing during the month of August. Whether it's Disney, Myrtle Beach, or wherever, that may not do what we did. So just remember that as an added risk, that this is, this is part of the public health issues we're dealing with. We are educating during a public health crisis. And so I would strongly defer to the data we've received, which is clearly from families and staff for the 8th and the half days. And also about the half days, what I heard from you, Dr. Willett, is that it's crucial for cleaning and for staff to be able to adjust, whether it's certain plans or educational plans they have in place that they might have to adjust. So things like that, I can totally see where the advantage is for the half days. Also, part of the guidelines from the state is for us to function regionally. And there are many different types of hybrid plans out there. My other quick question for you, Dr. Willett, is for our county or the other districts around us seem to be also doing this type of schedule. And if we have staff that lives in another town that is doing similar hybrid type plans, it is also beneficial for that. I might be off the mark a little bit on that. I don't know. But
no, I think
that was the guidance from the state.
Yeah, then that's part of our ongoing conversation about. There is much guidance from the state, and some of the guidance seems to speak against some of the other guidance, and so it's just a lot of interpretation that we have to do. But in a broader sense, what we have received is yes, that we're encouraged to act regionally, and to our west, the majority are doing the partial in person and engaging in certain things like this, and same thing to our east. So there's consistency with respect to what these groups are doing right now for the majority of those districts. Not everybody, I think, is doing everything exactly the same, but they're doing very close.
Okay. I'm fine. I strongly support whatever you and your staff need from us as a board. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Karen. Ashley had to step out. So looking at the list, Tony, you haven't gone yet, have you?
Nope, thank you. And believe me, as somebody that has, within the past couple of days, just gotten out of quarantine, recommended by the military down here, I'm distinctly aware of the challenges, not only in trying to navigate life well in that, but also in the technology involved and the challenges that we're trying to do. So, when I'm looking at these September 1 versus September 8 days, and it was one of the questions that I had posed to Dr. Willett, was ensuring that the educational time, regardless of which date we picked, the educational time would still get met. The opportunities for our students to learn and the requirements. And I think as he's articulated certainly before and a bit here, that's a non-event that does get taken care of. So with that in mind, I strongly am leaning towards the September 8th date, again, from that technology perspective, that it gives us a chance to ensure that the additional technologies that we're going to have to put in the classrooms for these teachers to be able to do the teaching, both to the in-person and to the distance, are in place, that we've troubleshot the quirks that are going to be there, and that when the staff does have to get in there and start using these, they don't have those additional stresses that we know happen when you try to institute new technologies. As far as the Wednesdays, again, if you had asked me this a few weeks ago, I was not quite a fan of the half days on Wednesdays. Okay. But now I'm on the other end. I think that there's benefit there, again, from the perspective of ensuring that we can move forward as far as our overarching and long-term district plans, even in the midst of the pandemic.
Okay, we will go to Dina next.
Welcome back, Ashley. First of all, Dr. Willett, I'm fully in support of the 9-8 with the half-day Wednesday, and I'm in support of the due diligence that the track committee has done, you have done, and your staff have done. So, I don't want to reiterate things that my peers have said, but I just have a few clarifying questions. I'd hope you'd humor me on it. On the Wednesdays, so I know that this is typically a calendar, and we set the calendar, and the calendar is the calendar for the year. However, in this pandemic, the plan is to reeval every 20 days or so to see what our structure is based on, the temperature of what's going on. Would that be something, would the half-day Wednesday be something? So let's say we go all in, or we go, and I hate to say it, all home, or whatever that looks like. I don't want to, but is the half-day Wednesday something that we can reeval and reassess on the calendar, barring our educational structure changes through this process?
Technically, like we do with April break, how you've added days or not, or things like that. The calendar's at the purview of the board. So, as far as I can see right now, you'd be able to adjust if you needed to. The decision we're making tonight would be to add them all in. Okay. And then I guess if we did get to some point where you didn't, but the one thing that people do sometimes get stressed about is if it's not consistent. If they can't consistently expect something, that it could get stressful for them on a variety of stakeholder domains there. So the one thing about this year that seems to be very, very certain is that nothing is certain. That's the one major factor this year. So I think we can expect for most of the year that it would be. Although the Russians have a vaccine, I don't know if you've heard, but probably not going to make its way through America very quickly.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Willett. So I do appreciate that as with the flexibility of that, and I think that if we put that in our pandemic plan as an addendum, the community can be aware, the TPS school community can be aware that that could be something that would be flexible or change. As far as the Monday starting 9/1, 9/8, I think that throughout our entire calendar, throughout the entire school year, there's holidays on Mondays, Wednesdays, Friday, like Thanksgiving is Thursday, Friday, there's different things. So I think it's kind of a moot point. We're going to have to be flexible with, I get that we have the AABB, so we're going to have to do our due diligence for that first week to see what it looks like for those students. But again, we have to be cognizant of the Thursday, Friday students on like Thanksgiving, right? So they're half out Wednesday and then they're off Thursday, Friday. So that week they're not in class. So I just want the board to be, us to be aware that these are things throughout the entire year. If we are still on the hybrid plan, these are some adjustments we'll have to make as well on that.
And then the last thing that I wanted to ask for some clarification, although Wednesday is a half day and the students are doing it virtually, the special education kids and the kindergarten kids are in class on that Wednesday. Is that correct?
So that we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I am making an adjustment to the draft that would have Wednesdays be consistent across the board for everybody in the same way. So special ed would be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in, if 75% of the IEP or more, or special program. Kindergarten would be AM, PM, Monday, AM, PM, Tuesday, and then AM, PM, Thursday, AM, PM, Friday. And that it would stay a consistently online day for everyone, regardless. Online half day with the students attending through the early release schedule, online virtually, and then the teachers working in the afternoon on everything that they'll need to work on. And this will all be at home so that the building can be cleaned on Wednesdays, extra cleaning. So that would be consistent across all areas now.
Okay. All right, thank you. I must have missed that at the track meeting. My apologies. I'm sure you're going to go over it.
No, that's happening. As I said, it's a draft. So as I was working this week, what I did get is a feedback that I was surprised by, actually, that that people felt that was desired. And especially at the kindergarten level, I got feedback from parent guardians that it was desired. And that was part of the meeting Tuesday night that a lot of parents attended.
Okay, and if I saw your graphs correct, teachers, non-teaching, parent and guardian, all the stakeholders that took your survey were, the percentages were higher in the option 2.
They were higher for the 8-day, yep, and then second to that was, I'm sorry, September 8th, and then their second to that was September 1st.
But that was across the for all stakeholders.
But majority, yeah, that was across every group, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Willett. I'll yield my time to the next person. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Sure.
Okay, and we'll go to Plord next.
I had to step out for a second, so if this was already asked or answered or talked about, I apologize. I want to focus on the first week because I feel like I hear a consensus of September 8th. It just sounds, and the Wednesday half days. The first week, my original thought process was I loved half days. But thinking about it, if the kids are only physically in school for one day, 3 hours, each cohort is each. So
Yeah.
if A goes on Tuesday for a full day, Wednesday is a cleaning day and a remote learning day. Thursday, cohort B goes in. Friday, the staff doesn't have off. They can go in and still plan accordingly for the next week. Is that how I'm reading this ER2, or am I way off?
Yeah, the only reason ER2 is in there the way it is was there was a statement from board member that they thought maybe having that Friday be a professional day would be useful for the staff so that they could see how things went and then reevaluate. So the ER1 option, you can actually modify that because I put it in there as stated from the last meeting, but it can be modified such that you could do ER1 and instead say every day throughout the year, and then say, that plus the first week of school, and not have that Friday be a non-student day. So you'd have, in that scenario, you'd have, on the 8th, let's just say it would be the A, and then everybody's online. Then on the 10th, it would be B, and then on the Friday, it would be the A again, and you'd be doing regular day. I'm sorry, it would be A, and then it would be 2 days of B. Sorry, yeah.
So you're saying half day. You're saying half days though.
So you'd be doing half days. The reason, if I remember, that people were very fond of the half days for the first week was kids getting used to PPE.
Okay.
That it would be hard to make it through the day with the PPE. So like one scenario you can do here would be that you're starting September 8th and that early release Wednesdays throughout the year, unless until further revisited if they so desired. But that you'd start with half days for the first week. And the way that would play would be, you would have a day on the 8th, 9th would be everybody virtual, 10th would be B, 11th would be B, and then Monday would start with A. And it would balance out towards the end with the numbers, but that's how that would play for the first week. if you were not doing a PD, or and I'm using PD, but I mean a teacher work day on the 11th, but no students attending on the 11th. So that option 2 reflected one of the things that was mentioned, by the board, but that particular option, that's not something the board has to do, and I would have to talk about it at PDEC anyway, which is the Professional Development Evaluation Committee. We had to cancel the PDEC meeting because the power outage blew everything up. So we're having that on Monday. But even that day on a Friday, if we're going to make that a teacher day, I would need to talk to PDEC and the union about that. So what you could do tonight is, if you wanted to, you can do the SD2, which is September 8th, and then you could do ER1 with the language added that throughout the year and the first week of school. And that would mean it's an A day on the 8th, a virtual day for everybody on the 9th, and then a B day on the 10th, a B day on the 11th, and then it would repeat again, AA, BB all the way through the beginning of the 20 days.
Okay, I like that. I could move that to action, but I need to know if everybody else would. I'm all set, Ash.
Okay, at this point, I don't know if everyone still has their hands up. I don't know if we are new hands or if we still are old hands. So I will go through everyone another time just to see. As Porter said, I definitely think there is definitely support for that option SD2 for that September 8th. So that portion, I think that there's still some discussion for that ER1. I think it sounds like every Wednesday throughout the school year. But the problem, I think, that is just that ER2, if we're going to do that first week half days, or if it's going to be the full day. And like you were discussing, Dr. Willett, saying that the 8th would be A, 9th would be virtual, 10th would be B, and 11th would be B.
Right.
I understand what you're saying with the whole, like, it levels out. I just feel bad that the A kids will only have those like 3 hours on that Tuesday and not really get that adjustment needed, the additional 3 hours, like that, like.
Yeah, I do understand that. And it probably will balance out a bit by the end, but I understand what you're saying.
I just think that first week of school, like, I'm not really worried about the rest of the calendar, but I just have concerns for that first week of the A days, having 3 hours to get used to the format, wearing a mask, getting under the B days will have 2 days of the 3 hours to just be adjusted and get used to it. I just worry about the A group not getting that same time slot and to adjustment really. I still would like to see that A group getting an additional day, because I do feel the adjustment is important, and doing the half days, I feel, help all students and teachers. I mean, the teachers will be like, they'll have the A days and then they'll have the B days, but you're going to have this one group of kids jumping from the 3 hours right into a full week of, it's only 2 days, but.
I mean, one way to mitigate it, but this would mean not having the cleaning day on Wednesday, would be you do AA, 8, 9, BB, 10, 11 without the online day to start. The first online day would then be the 16th.
But if we have a half day, we can still get the cleaning in, right?
Yeah. Well, your half days would give everybody a shorter span of time. It is one way to do that. And so I'm just suggesting that we could have the first week be that, it's A for the 8th, A for the 9th in person, and, the others are online. And then 10 would be B in person, 11 would be B in person, A would be online, and then you start the AABB schedule starting the week of the 14th, with the 16th being the first full remote day. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, that would just be my suggestion, because like I said, I just feel like that A group, I do feel like you're still going to need that adjustment. I really do. I feel like just having the mask on with the class, how it works, and then to go for 3 hours one day and then not go again until the following week all day, I think is going to be tough for them. So, that's just my thought, and that's kind of how I would like to see that play out. Like I said, I'm not concerned about the rest of the calendar year of having like the Fridays and Mondays off. And I understand that it'll all sort its way, but I just feel like that first week of school needs extra attention.
Yeah, I have a motion that I can read out to you. It is a mouthful, but it does cover that. It would have September 8th. It had every Wednesday throughout the year as a half day or early release day. It'd have half days for the week of school. And then it would have with September 8th and 9th as A in person, B virtual, and 10th and 11th as B in person, A virtual to start the year, you know, or for the first week. So I can, and it's a mouthful, but it'll do what we're talking about here.
All right, let's touch with a couple of board members and just see what their thoughts are about that first week, because I think that's really the last key to the puzzle here. So, Jacob.
Before, so you're done. All right, I'm done.
Okay, let's go to Karen.
Yes, Dr. Willett, can you just clarify as there's discussion about these half days the first week, is that something that the staff has even discussed?
Yes, the staff responded favorably to that as well.
But is that something you're inclined to put forward?
It was part of the surveys, and I think it is good for kids because they're getting used to the PPE. Also good for staff, excuse me, as they get used to the PPE. So I think it does have a good, purpose for the first week.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure about staff. If that's something you needed to like go to the union about or anything like that.
I don't know. No, the calendar is something that we can set, but I don't, from what I can see from the feedback from the teacher survey, they don't have a problem with starting with the half days. That was something that was seen as valuable too. So
Okay.
do you feel that having half days during the first school days would be helpful in adjusting to the school year? 57.6% said yes, and an additional 24.1% on top of that, yes, said yes, but I'd rather have more than 5. So you're definitely getting 50, 60, 70, 81% saying yes to that being useful for them.
Okay. Then I would still emphasize that I support Dr. Willett's recommended plans, as well as our administrative teachers and staff. We just need to move on and be done with this so families can begin to plan, period. I'm done.
Christina, I think your mic is on. Are you trying to get on there?
I just got kicked out.
Or-
So
I was like, did
Ashley, you got
Ashley
kicked out.
disappear? Sorry.
I don't know. Ashley, I don't even see you trying to get in or out. Or you're just disappearing.
the internet just like everything shut down. The Zoom thing came up, but then I went right back in, and then it.
Yeah, you're not even out. You just sort of disappear and then come back. It's weird.
Okay, so let's go to Dina.
Okay, thank you. I do think that we need to kind of move forward with this conversation, but I guess my one is I'm happy with the plans that were set and were presented. I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that there's holidays throughout the entire school year. So there's going to be holidays and weeks and days that some students from the AA group or some students from the BB group are going to just be missing a day and the other students aren't. I'm not for making it Tuesday, Wednesday for AA and then Thursday, Friday for BB. I'm not in favor of sacrificing safety and proper cleaning procedures on the second day of school, on the first week of school. When it's 3 hours, not to minimize 3 hours of educational, because I don't want to minimize that at all. But I definitely think that our teachers and our staff and Dr. Willett's team can figure out what we need to do to make sure that the educational aspect of the schooling the first week can get done, as well as throughout the year, being cognizant of holidays throughout the year. But I don't think 3 hours on Monday that we're missing because everybody has a half day all week is worth losing that thorough cleaning on that Wednesday on our very first week of school and minimizing the safety of our children. So if we have the AA team going Tuesday, Wednesday
we do not have that thorough cleaning of the buildings as projected in the plan. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Griffin.
Well, since kind of that was exactly what I had said my first go around, I'm in support of that. I think that we can figure out what to do with our custodian staff. I don't think we will be sacrificing any safety if we can have people working from, noon for 20 hours or whatever it turns out to be. But I don't see how this is going to be a safety issue, especially when I know at least at the high school, these kids are going to be gathering that afternoon all week for their sports practices. So I think that it's more important to get the A kids in for 6 hours that week and get them started on this. So that's just all I have to say on that.
Okay, let's go to
Did you say Kate?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I didn't hear it. I just want to move to a motion. So I'm ready to move to a motion I'd like to move this to action so that we can move forward with the September 8th start date, and every Wednesday is a half day.
Okay, let me get to the other board members just to make sure, because Tony still has his hand up and that would be his second time. And I think he got cut off the first time. So I just want to ensure that he gets to have whatever say that he needs. So Tony, you can be next.
Thank you, and my apologies earlier, Madam Chair. The planes took off to make loud. But I'll be brief there. I support the half day for the first week. As we've been discussing, I think a little bit more in Dr. Willett's conversation later, the beginning of this year is going to be about adjustment and about ensuring that we're taking it slow to be able to then speed up and put our staff and our kids in the right position to succeed. So I think taking that half day for that first week, letting the kids get used to the PPEs everybody's talked about and how the new year is going to have to start is going to be extremely value added. Thank you.
Okay. Griffin, you have I'm assuming I just went down the list and your hand's just still up.
Actually, I have a point of order. There was a motion on the table, just like there was a motion when Christina Plord motioned to have Dr. Willett's superintendent contract moved to action. Kate Howard-Bender put a motion on the table and it was dismissed. However, when Christina Plord put the motion to move it to action before, only like 3 or 4 committee members spoke on behalf of Dr. Willett, and now we're going through that. So I think that we need to go out the motion that was on the table.
And it wasn't seconded, first of all. And the other problem is, Dana, with Dr. Willett, I did go through everyone and everyone's hand was down. So everyone did get a turn at the table to talk if they wanted to talk. So don't start trying to recreate the wheel. I mean, if anyone has something to say, you have to go through all the members first.
I'm not recreating the wheel. I'm going through Robert's rules, and that's a point of order.
And you know what? I'm going to call you out of order right now. So there you go. Tony, do you have something else or your hand is still up? Okay. Now at this time, when all the members have had a chance to have a discussion, I will entertain a motion to move the September 8th option into the board action. And I would also entertain a motion to, let's go ahead and do we'll start off with the every Wednesday throughout the school year plus the first week of school with the AABB format. And
I can give you a full motion if you want, if it's helpful.
well, you know what? Lord,
moving it to action anyway, and then
Yeah, we have to move it to action.
So you got to move it to action,
okay,
and then
so-
just the general movement of that item to action is all you'd really need to do, and then we can go over it there if you want.
So I'd like to make a motion to move H2 to board action as K2, 2020-2021 TPS school calendar.
Kate Howard-Bender, I would like to second that motion.
Is there any other further discussion? Okay, I will do a roll call vote. Dana?
Aye.
Plord?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Tony, Rini,
Aye.
and Kate.
Aye.
Okay. Therefore, we will move the Talend school calendar to the K2. Okay. Dr. Willett, if you could go through the H3, which is the pandemic response plan and opening condition.
Sure. So this is an update to earlier work on this or an ongoing work on this. At this point, where we are in the process is that the pandemic continuity of learning plan was submitted back some time ago on the 24th, reviewed by the board on the 22nd, talked about with the track committee and other operational committees of the school district, including staff for over a month. And where we're landing now is we're adding the section of the reopening. The reopening was presented, reopening details were presented on Monday. They were reiterated Tuesday in another open meeting for the public, and they are being presented in final form tonight as a draft. As soon as we are done with this board meeting tonight, I will begin the process of updating our pandemic continuity of learning plan with the reopening information that that I have reported out on a number of occasions. Also, I'll be needing to update the pandemic continuity of learning plan with all the addendums that have come out since the last time the plan was updated. So that includes addendum 1, 2, 3, 4, and the state has released addendum 5, 6, and I think even 7 just came out. So I have a lot of work to do over the next 24 hours and 48 hours just to update the whole thing with all of the additional addendum and things like that. But for tonight, what we are focusing on ultimately for this conversation is the opening condition, and particularly the plan that I covered the other night with a few adjustments. So it's the same draft, but it has a couple of adjustments to it, and I'll highlight the adjustments. I'm guessing you don't want me to go through the entire thing again, because we did do that in track. I can go through the entire thing again if we want, but I'll just highlight the changes right now and not everything. So right now, and if people want me to go over the whole thing again, I will, and I'll do it. I'll do this as fast or in a, as succinctly as I can. Basically, we have response conditions, and if it's low, moderate, or high from the state, we have an evaluation period, and in this case, they're broken into about 20-day blocks, and we have education options that are available during those periods based on what the response condition is. So where we start this year is we start with a partial in-person hybrid as one option and a remote learning option. So parents and guardians would have partial in-person or remote learning as the options for their children as we begin the year, excuse me, and that is for general education students in grades 1 through 12. Kindergarten would be every day in for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and that is the change. That instead of going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, kindergarten would be in all kids AM, PM as 2 groups. They would be in Monday, they would be in Tuesday, Wednesday, they are remote online like the rest of the district. They would be in-person Thursday, in-person Friday, so 4 days a week. Also, students of special education, this is the second modification, would be in Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday in person, with Wednesday being that remote learning online day. That makes the Wednesday consistently across the district under the partial in-person plan as the remote learning online day. And the school district staff would be home on those days as well, working from home. The schools would have extra cleaning on those days, and that makes it consistent for all populations. But those 2 groups, special education, special programs, and those that have 75% or higher IEP special services would be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days a week in full schedule, and kindergarten AM, PM, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So that is the change here in the plan. The rest of it is the same as presented to track, same that has been posted, same that was also talked about on Tuesday night. So I can go over all of that again, but I will stop if everybody feels like they know, they have a handle on what was already presented. I can well, so let me stop there. Stop there and see what you're interested in going forward with. But this is what I intend to go forward with tonight, provided, you know, nothing unbelievable is changing it.
I don't know, my internet is going crazy tonight.
Yep,
and I
that's
don't
okay, Ashley. I just went over all of this. So at this point, I put it back to the board and you as to any statements or questions. I stated that it's the same as what was on track Monday, and it is same presented as Tuesday, with the exception that kindergarten is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in person, AM, PM, with the Wednesdays being consistent with District Now, and special education, special programs, and 75% or more special services are also Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in person, with the Wednesday being remote online. So it's all consistently for partial in person, Wednesday being remote, and that is the change.
Perfect. Let's go to Jacob.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Willett, so much for putting together this document. I know that the state has put a tremendous burden up on you with all of this and making this decision all by yourself. And I want to thank you for all of the work that you've done. And again, I'll just reiterate again, I support what you're doing, and I want to make sure that everything works well. But I do have some questions, and like Tony said, I think it's good to ask questions. So I guess my question with this is, I'm curious how much case counts for our region and the pandemic response condition categories as laid out in the pandemic continuity of learning plan will be weighed in determining what model will go forward with up in the upcoming periods. And if it isn't the sole factor, how important will it be relative to other factors? And if you could speak a little bit to those other factors that'll be weighed, determining what mode we're going to be adopting.
Sure. So, you know, the thing about it is, and this is a very, this is one of those conversations that can go on for hours. And that's why the meeting I had the other night on Tuesday night with the parent guardians went on for 3 hours. It was a 3-hour meeting with many people hanging on for the whole thing. And that's because there's many nuances to the situation. So, so I put out some information again tonight talking about this, and you know, the situation that we're in is one that is a little bit. It's more than the numbers that we see in front of us. It's unique and different from the standpoint that a number in this situation reflects an indicator. It's an indicator of a snapshot in time. But what it doesn't have is it doesn't have without context. It's a limiting kind of factor to be making a judgment on. And so the information that's out there these days, you know, with the research and so on, talks about, and many have come out saying that in-person is the most positive thing for kids, which is absolutely true. But it also had, you know, most of that literature talks about the local conditions and about the circumstances and the need to, you know, using local officials and contacts and so on. So where we're at right now is we're in a situation where contact tracing and capacity to do such contact tracing is crucial in making these decisions. And when you're looking at it, the Department of Public Health has been trying to get other health districts in alignment. Very difficult thing to do because health districts in some places are actual full departments with staffs, and other places they're regional, and then in other places yet they're sort of add-ons, or they exist in a different format. So trying to get them unified has been a challenge for the state, but they're working hard on that. Department of Health is working on that. But what will happen is there's some inconsistency sometimes from health district to health district. They're starting to work that out. One of the other things they're starting to do is build capacity for contact tracing and for you know, making sure that there's you know, people in the field that can evaluate what the infection rate is from the standpoint of actually going out and doing the interviews and doing the contact interviews and so on. So there really are no hard numbers in a situation like this. What happens in a situation like this is that, you know, identifications and numbers like that are only as good as the number of tests that have been provided to people and the number of contact tracers that are available to do it. And so right now, for the Highland, Eastern Highland Health District, there's, a variety of different schools involved, but there's 12 districts for 3 contact tracers. They have 2 more, so it's 5 contact tracers. UConn has 27 contact tracers. And to give you an example of complexity, UConn is in the same county as us. So when those 27 contact tracers start doing, their work in the Yukon population, we can expect potentially county numbers to go up. That may not be something that needs to affect schools, even though there may be greater numbers identified because more tests are coming and so on. So it has to do not only with what's your county doing, but what is your own school's population doing? And even within that, when you have the contract tracers going out and identifications occur, there may be a positive, that person would be dispatched to have interviews and call those interview persons that were affected. And then anybody that they had contact with has to reach out to those people. And so one potential identification of a person that has COVID could, in one sense, based on the circumstances of that case, mean very, very little difference for the school district, even if that is an identification within the school district. But a singular identification that has different circumstances could mean something very, very different based on the amount of time that the person was in contact with other people, the distance that they were away from those other people, whether there was any breaks in that contact, the circumstances around it. For instance, did they remove their mask at any point? Were they sneezing, and were people in 3 or 6 feet, or how many people were in the room at that point? So the point is that these kinds of things are very nuanced. It's not really a straight number. It has almost everything to do with what the contact tracing is. And our biggest weapon against this, against people infecting other people, is the effectiveness and the rapidity at which this contact tracing can be executed, and people can be contacted and then put into quarantine. If that can be done quickly and done in a way that prevents people from coming in contact with other people in large groups, then that means that infections are greatly mitigated and don't spread quickly, and numbers stay fairly low. But if they can't, and if it isn't possible to do that, it may be weeks before people realize what the identification numbers really, really are. And it takes a couple of weeks to manifest in people. And as I mentioned in one of my narratives, it's a tree in the forest kind of thing. If the tree falls in the forest and there's nobody watching the trees, then they don't realize how many trees are falling, and maybe there's not even enough access to the forest. So where we're at right now is that in the state of Connecticut, we're coming out of a summer where there's been a lot of activity amongst certain populations of adults and youth. And it's going to be a couple of weeks before we see the impacts of that. And then our ability to see the impacts of that have everything to do with the amount of people that are available to actually engage, how many tests we're actually able to give. So it's really not as straightforward as it looks. And that's why you're going to see a lot of districts starting in a hybrid condition, because it's one of the most effective ways to start when you're not sure of whether a wave is coming. And in 2 or 3 weeks, within that time span, if that wave doesn't manifest itself, and during that duration of time, the health districts will be building up capacity to do contact tracing. They're going to be training people to do it, getting larger numbers, and they'll be getting themselves positioned well. So during this time, they're building up their own capacity to do it, but they don't necessarily have that capacity right now. So identifications that would be happening right now, we won't even really know the effects of for weeks. And there is some feeling that we'll see a rise in the next few weeks. If we're in a hybrid condition or a partial in-person condition, we can mitigate that much better because we're not having as much contact. We have those days of cleaning. So ironically and interestingly enough, if we were doing the partial, we can prevent it from having a mass spread if there is a larger number. Whereas if we were all in person 5 days a week, that spread would be much more profound. if those numbers are higher. And once we do have the health districts having the higher capacity, they'll be able to get on top of these very, very quickly. And that's how some of these other countries that have been very successful have done it very well, is they had a very well coordinated and large army of contact tracers that could engage. So the point is, we're in a situation where there's a lot of variability. And so taking chances under that variability is not something most superintendents feel comfortable doing morally, ethically, or professionally. So, there is stuff out there. And as you said, the civility policy, people saying other people are caving or doing things like that, that's really not, superintendents are doing the opposite of caving. What superintendents are trying to do is find the most morally, professionally, and ethically, and protective method of moving forward in these span of time that we have. So for us, it's 20 days. We'd be evaluating the first 20 days. And during that time, the capacity would be getting better and stronger, and we'd be able to be in a position where we could probably have identifications happening faster, people being separated and quarantined faster, and that would be a more acceptable time to start moving into something more expansive.
So just so I can kind of summarize that, because there's a lot there. Thank you for that answer, Dr. Willett. But your focus right now, it's mainly about trying to get our tracing abilities up to speed to handle having school in session. It's less about the current case numbers that we currently have in town. Is that more or less correct?
Yeah, I'm saying that, there are reasons why we are encountering this the way we are. So for instance, one would have to look at, people might be afraid that we wouldn't receive federal dollars if as a state we did not emphasize a certain thing. And so there's a variety of communications going on right now that make that narrative a little different and more confusing than we might otherwise be able to have. So I'm saying that what we're looking at right now only represents some of the trees falling in the forest, that we don't have enough people watching the trees. We don't have enough people that are contact tracing right now. We don't have enough people that are engaged in that process, and that has been expanding. In fact, they're trying to increase the budgets for the health districts for this purpose, to expand those tracers, because they know how crucial they are in the process. And so a straight number doesn't tell us what we need. So for instance, like there are some facts, 9.8 meters per second squared gravity, that's a fact. These are indicators. These are snapshots at a moment in time that represent something we have to put in context. What's the context? The context is, does this represent having enough people to contact trace to have a true number? Does it represent, all of the testing that is about to happen and what's going to be identified? Does it truly represent what the real picture is? And frankly, it's a good picture, but it does not represent the fact that there aren't enough contact tracers out there. They're increasing the funds for that purpose. Those are crucial in heading it off. And if you have everybody grouped together and a surge comes, more people will be affected than would otherwise be affected if we start in a protective model. So this is a model that allows for that in-person interaction. The kids will see the teachers and the teachers will see the kids. It gets us prepped for online in case we had to go there more profoundly, and it does it in a 20-day cycle, so that in those 20-day cycles, if things are looking much better, contact tracing capacity is increased, more identifications happening, we see what the result of these additional tests that, for instance, UConn's going to be doing and other places are going to be doing have. And after 20 days, if everything's looking really favorable, we could make a shift in the direction in a much better sense of what's going on than we can right now. So that's really part of it.
And I'll yield the floor.
Okay, let's go to Flor.
So I just wanted to say, and I wrote my thoughts down earlier, that I fully support Dr. Willett's plan as we move forward with the school year. I see the benefits of the evaluation period, and I see the opportunity for our working families to get back in school full-time in the next phase. With that being said, I think the state put a decision on him that I don't feel was well supported from their level. I sent a very lengthy email with my concerns regarding the hybrid model as parents send their children to outside daycares. I called a number of daycares today and facilities for my son, and some of them are not allowing school-age children in because of concerns for their safety and increasing the circle. So a snippet from my email, and I won't read the whole thing, but I can send it to Lisa to be included in the minutes. And this is not a reflection of how I feel about Dr. Willett's plan. It's just how I feel about things in general. Remote learning or the hybrid models for the reopening of the K through 12 schools do not provide a quality or equitable education for all students. I'm not just talking about Tolland, everywhere. Working families are struggling to go to work, educate their children, and now pay for childcare on top of their property taxes. And what risks do parents take for the education of their child? Are they blessed enough to stay home or hire a teacher to implement the curriculum? What happens to the students whose families can't afford care? Do grandparents help with the kids while they go to work, risking their own personal health? Are children left home alone with older siblings or family? I personally know of one family who did not log on in May and June because both her and her husband had to work. So who suffers here? The child and their education. So I won't read the rest of my email, but I think I made my point here. I do have concerns, and I really would like to see us move to full in-person. And I'll just reiterate that I support the evaluation phase, and I'd like to see some data-driven decisions on getting the kids back in school. So thank you.
Okay, let's go to Tony.
I just want to say, I like the plan. I like the plans with the additions that the team, Dr. Willett, your team has put over the past week specifically. I think we're pretty close to this being, rather impressive and something that certainly is going to help Tolland be in a very good place going forward. Like Jacob, I do have some concerns with the portion on the evaluations. I know you and I have discussed that a little bit, and I look forward to some more discussions. I've reached out to the state for some clarification in some areas where I think, yes, they've left us hanging out there. But again, this document, this plan, it's my interpretation, is going to be a work in progress. As we keep moving forward, your team's obviously going to have to tweak little areas, but this gives us an incredible jumping off point. So again, I support. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Kate.
Thank you. So first, I support Dr. Willett and his administration, like my colleagues. But I do, and I want to say that this is the right way for our district to go, given all of the factors. This is not easy, and I hear that. I hear parents. I'm trying to figure things out myself. It's a ridiculously difficult decision. But I believe that this is a protected position. I've heard Dr. Willett say that phrase, and I think that this is the right thing for us to do as a community. I think that what we need to think about is how we can figure this out together as a community. I think that instead of us getting upset with the district for not giving us childcare, I think we have to look at the social safety nets in Tolland and in our region, and we should be talking to our legislators about those safety nets. It's not okay that two parents have to work full time and are worried that they're not going to be able to take care of their kids. That's not okay. So, what kind of investments and what kind of a time, and dedication are we all willing to do to advocate for more social safety nets so that our working families don't get creamed by this process? That was a term that someone had used in an email, and I appreciate that because I too am trying to figure it out with my husband. So I would like to again say, what are we doing as a town to come together? Because that's what we have to do. We have to come together in this ridiculous and very difficult time. We have to come together and help each other and try to keep each other as safe as possible so that we can continue to crush this virus and continue to hold one another up in love and honesty and care. So that's really all I have to say. I'm so appreciative of everybody's efforts and all the time and love and dedication that has gone into creating this plan. And, you know, I'm looking forward, I'm hoping that we are able to return in 20 days. My kids want to get back too. And like my own students want to come back, but you know, we're going to just roll with the punches, and we're going to take that data and we're going to figure this out, talent. So thank you for the time.
Okay, let's go to Dana.
Thank you. I'll be brief. First of all, you know, I was able to attend the track meeting. It was very thorough and informative, and there was great questions from the track team in here tonight. I want to reiterate what Kate Howard-Benner just said about this is time for us as an entire community to come together. Like, what are we doing as a town? I know that Dr. Willett had mentioned at the track meeting about FRC with some support for some of our working families. As an essential worker who has been working since March 13th, who has watched the progress of all of this, I guess my question would be, you know, unfortunately, I had to figure out a way to handle and take care of the children back then, but and we're going to have to somehow figure it out now. And ultimately, we're not getting hit with this and saying March 13th is our last day of school right now. We have an ample opportunity to work as a community and come together and work as a cohesive unit to create game plans to support those essential workers, as Christina so passionately has spoken about on multiple occasions, and how we can as a community can support those single parents that have to go to work, or those dual working families that have to go to work. So we definitely need to think, you know, there are some families that can stay home in some situations. I wouldn't use the word blessed at being at home. Some are unemployed and not receiving revenue and any money in that way. So yes, they're able to take care of their families, but then there's a monetary burden in that capacity. So I think we need to make sure that as a whole, one, this plan definitely supports the safety and security of all of our staff and our students. I think it's the best thing that we can do right now. But again, it's not March 13th, right? Nothing, I want to say March 13th, what has changed since March 13th? We're still fighting a pandemic. There's still a pandemic out there, right? The only thing that's changed is we have more resources at our disposal. We have more knowledge at our disposal. We have more information. We have funds at our disposal that we've put in COVID funds and different things, and on the town side and on the Board of Education side. Again, I just want to reiterate what Kate said was, this is our time to come together as a community to support those families who can be struggling because of the dynamics of what we have to do for our school structure, simply to maintain the safety and security of our staff and students, as well as providing a quality education. So I don't want to minimize those concerns. There was a lot of reaching out in that, and I think that we have some work to do as a team to do so. So thank you, Dr. Willett, for your plan, and I do look forward to us having more discussions on this to try to support those families. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Griffin.
So, Dr. Willett, first off, I just want to say thank you so much for this. This was just incredible to see. I did watch the track meeting on Monday night, and I was really, really just, you know, excited at this latest plan. So I thank you for that, because I know that this has been ever changing daily, and that you and your staff and your administrators really put together a great plan. So I will say that, you know, as a parent, I'm definitely holding out hope that for the second phase, or prep 1 or 2 rather, you know, I am hoping that the kids can get back into the building. So I know that we're all going to be, you know, waiting and watching and, you know, seeing what the data and the numbers do. But I think, you know, we had a fair amount of parents who spoke up that, you know, they want to send their kids either the 4 or the 5 days. So I think that this gives them, you know, hope. And I think we all know that anything can change, but I think that it's a really good laid out plan. And hopefully after those 19 days, we will be able to, based on the science and the data and all that, we'll be able to get the kids back into school for the 4 or 5 days. I'm not sure if that part was changed. I didn't notice, but so again, I just wanted to thank you. I know that this was a lot of work that went into this, and I think this is a really good plan to start off the year with.
Okay, let's go to Rini.
Okay, I wanted to go before Griffin because now she just stole my thunder. I was pretty much going to say those exact same things. I was just really happy to see a great compromise. I mean, a lot of people, there was many people, you know, in different areas giving their input. And I do think this kind of tries to hold everyone's wishes together and also, you know, support the kids in terms of providing the best education that we can given the circumstances, and it allows us that flexibility. Dr. Willett, a great job. I know it was hard to, you know, really try to incorporate all these things, but I love the review periods, and I am hopeful that we're going to be able to get back to school too. But I understand that we you know, we need to do what we need to do to get there. So I appreciate it, and just in the name of brevity, that is it.
Hey, thank you, Rini.
Speaking of just time, just to keep an eye that you might need to extend it past 10, Madam Chair.
Yes, I will entertain a motion to extend our meeting past 10.
Hi, this is Dana Felben. I'd like to make a motion to extend this meeting past 10 p.m.
Jacob Murray, second.
Any discussion? Does anyone have anything else to say? Okay, we will do a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed can say nay, or you can abstain. Dana?
Sorry, I'm used to being after Rainey. Aye.
Flord?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Rainey?
Aye.
And Kate?
Aye.
I'm also aye, therefore motion passes and we will extend past 10.
Oh, I too. I think you missed
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry, Jacob. You weren't in my block of my field of blocks. So I'm sorry, Jacob.
No problem.
Okay, let's go to Karen.
Yes, I was just going to say thank you, Dr. Willett. This is a well thought out, responsible plan. I'm thankful for our teachers and staff, administrators who put a lot of work into this too. I know you've had a lot of meetings with them, and education and care go hand in hand for children. So I have all the faith in the world that our educators will be doing that for our students. So I support your recommended plan here, and I thank you.
Okay, Dr. Willett, I think that the board approves of your plan. When I first read it, I had reached out to you and I said, this is great. I like the options. I like even having seen that 4-day come up on there. I have to be honest, I haven't really seen too many other plans that go as in depth as yours does, especially with all the different options. So job well done.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, I do want to say that the staff worked very hard on this as well. Admin, you know, they had worked hard on it, a lot of input. So this truly is a synthesis of all of your stakeholders, your staff and other groups. They all deserve the credit for it. It's all from their hard work and efforts.
Perfect. So we will move on to the civility policy. I'm sure Tony likes to have the thunder for these policies. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so again, just like we say every time, this is the first read for the civility policy. So there's no vote required today. And the intention is to get this in front of the board and let the board then spend the next appropriate time, the next couple of weeks till the next meeting or whenever it makes the second one, reviewing and discussing for changes. So if there are any additions, we will do that on the next, we'll do that on the second read. Just to kind of touch on I think it was Ms. Udacek that asked the question earlier. The intention when we looked at this and brought it before the committee was not to put together a list of rules that if you violated would get your hand slapped, but rather to make like a couple of the other policies that are in our bylaws portion to make a declaration that these are the things that we feel are important as far as civility and how we should act, just to make that declaration. It's up to you, Madam Chair. I can read through these, or we've got the document that can be attached to the minutes and given to the board for your review over the next few period. Dr. Willett, did you have anything to add to that brief intro?
Nope. I think, the policy committee has been talking about this now for a couple of meetings, and, apropos that it is coming to the board at this point for first read.
I would like to have members take the time to read through everything. I did prior to the meeting, and I have to say you guys did some great work here. It really does go through an awful lot. And I have to say, this is fantastic. So thank you very much for all that work that's been done on it. And we'll see if we can go through members with any questions at this time. Rini?
Do I have a question? No.
Oh, your hand is up, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Karen?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions for the policy committee. Number 8, listen respectfully to those who communicate with the board, seeking to understand their views while recognizing my responsibility. Is that supposed to refer to the superintendent? Or is that a board member?
It's a board. Yeah, okay, I'm on mute.
So anytime you see my in here, referring to our person as a board member.
Okay, we could change the verbiage in there, but the intention of that is not to, it's not to mean the superintendent. It's meant to mean the responsibilities of the board.
And number 17, present personal criticism of district operations or of any employee directly to the superintendent. I would like to see a little bit more with that in regard to social media. Or we need to have the policy committee look at specifically a social media policy for the board, would be my suggestion as well.
And I completely agree with the second. I think we kept the social media aspect out of this specifically because, it was more of an overarching discussion from the civility. I think a conversation on a social media policy is apropos. And like we said in points of interest earlier, we will add that to the tracker that we're using as far as policies we want to discuss. And then when it makes a priority, then discuss.
Okay, as long as it's on the radar, that's fine.
It is, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
And Kate?
Yeah, I'm on the policy committee. I don't remember talking about social media when we did this civility code, Tony. I don't remember even that coming up. Maybe I'm just not remembering correctly.
Let me look back at my notes and I can tell you the meeting. I'll shoot that to you in an email. We did.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, I believe everybody's all set with me, and we will review this on our own. Our next is the committee and liaison reports. I know that we missed a few meetings this month, or was last. I can't even think straight. So if we have any of those meetings, obviously I think policy had their meeting. I believe there was a Birch Grove. If, Dana, you want to give an update about that? And let's see, communications. Karen, did you have any for communications? And
we had to reschedule communications.
Okay, so you rescheduled. Negotiations doesn't have anything currently. So why don't we start off at the top with the policy, Tony?
Yeah, so we held a special meeting. I think it's been last week? where we discussed one, the calendar. We brought the calendar in front. We then did the final reviews of the civility policy. We had on the agenda to look at roles and responsibilities of the board, and then a 504 policy that we're discussing from the compliance perspective. Obviously, with the opening and the different things coming down from the state, those policies may not get discussed in the next meeting. We'll get with Dr. Willett and kind of reprioritize things to try to make sure that we're tackling those reopening things that we need to get done now that we can to open those things up. So more to come.
Okay. Dina?
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, so the Birch Grove, other than the fact that everything's on time and we're moving and progressing very according to plan. But we did have the topping off ceremony that we did have a few members of our town council and the Board of Ed. They were able to attend. Ms. Felucci, Ms. Nuccio, Mr. Mari was there, Ms. Griffin, Ms. Hardbender, myself, and if I missed somebody else, I do apologize. But no, it was a fantastic little ceremony. People were able to sign the beam for the quote unquote last beam put up in the structure. Dr. Willett was there, and we had a lot of folks from the state there that were supporting the efforts of our town and Dr. Willett and the team. So it was a great little ceremony. We all got a little squish ball, stress ball, beam thing that maybe some of us are squishing tonight. But nevertheless, it was a pretty cool ceremony. Some people brought their children to Birch Grove. So some kids, were there and they can bring their children when they're older to see the beam that they signed for Birch Grove. So it was a pretty cool ceremony and a really bright spot in some challenging times. And that's all I have.
Perfect. Griffin, was there an FFC?
No, we actually we canceled our July. We have one scheduled for next Wednesday.
Okay, perfect. So I'm not forgetting anyone at this time, just making sure. Raise your little blue hand if you are.
Curriculum, sorry, curriculum, Kate Howard-Bender. Curriculum didn't meet. We canceled because it was the same time as the topping off ceremony. So,
okay.
Thank you.
So that is good. And then chairperson's report. Let me just pull it up on here. Okay. I know people are very stressed with all the COVID issues and the effects that are having on school schedules, work schedules, and concerns for health and safety. I'd like to ask that we do our best to be kinder and to stop shaming, especially on social media. No one can decide what's best for you and your family. The board consists of a very diverse range of people. No, we aren't all school administrators, nor should we be. If that was the intent of the board makeups to be all administrators, it would be set up as such. It would be a requirement in the bylaws. But instead, we are all elected volunteers with various backgrounds. I, for one, will have a high schooler and one at TIS, along with a baby on the way. My kids will adhere to the decisions set forth. The town is very split for the course of action. It is the parent's choice at the end of the day whether to send your child or not. Dr. Willett makes the final decision for state purposes, whatever that is. We will need to support him. Every member has personal opinions that are expressed in many different online Facebook pages, not just Talent Open. Just because you don't agree, it doesn't make it unethical or illegal. There are no additional rules or regulations that we are held to. Some of the best pot stirrers out there leave out important information to simply create drama. Rumors are rumors and have no verifiable information to support accusations, but it spreads like wildfire anyway. An example of this would be Dr. Willett's Evergreen cause. No, there is zero correlation to what he decides on the school. There's also no pressure on him besides what the community throws at him. It is his decision alone, nor does it mean that we do not support him. I will reiterate, having all 9 members present is better than having 6 members for an official vote, which only 6 were supposed to be at the meeting finishing up his review. Be careful about who you listen to. There are more people who are just looking to create drama than work together. That's the problem. All sides do need to be viewed while the decisions are being made, which Dr. Willett will ultimately make. People can have conversations and differences of opinions without it being classified as bullying. Conversations are a lost art in society. Also, please note, I am not a referee for that matter or able to control what people do on social media. If you have an issue with someone, please work it out with that particular person. If you don't like what's posted on Facebook, you are under no obligation to continue engaging. Let's act like adults and stop throwing sand in the sandbox. So now we will go on to board action, which will be the K1, which is the superintendent's evaluation for the evergreen clause.
So can I make the motion? Will you entertain the motion, Ash?
Yes, I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make the motion that the board moves to approve the superintendent's contract through June 30th, 2023. The board further recognizes and appreciates the superintendent's willingness to freeze his salary and medical insurance benefits for the 2020-21 year in light of the district's economic challenges as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Rini Besaw, second.
Okay, is there any other discussion at this point in time from any members? I'm assuming that Tony and Kate, your hands are up from before. Okay. Therefore, we will do a roll call vote. All those in favor can say aye. All those opposed can say nay, and you can abstain. Dana?
Aye.
Flor?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
Kate?
Absolutely.
And I'm an aye as well. Therefore, this motion passes. And Dr. Willett, you have the extension. And
Thank you. I'm
all the
humbled by
other
that.
verbiage.
Humbled by it and deeply appreciative. Thank you very much.
You absolutely deserve it.
Okay, let's go to K2, which is the Talon School Calendar. Which I have to pull up my paper. Okay.
Can give you some verbiage if you want it.
Well,
that would be great.
Yeah.
Would that be great? Okay, because
That would
I
be
know
great.
sometimes we at least so we'll read it in. The motion to approve the 2020-2021 modified calendar with a start date of September 8th every Wednesday throughout the year as an ER half day and half days for the first week of school, and with September 8th and 9th, Group A in person, B virtual, and 10th and 11th as Group B in person and A virtual for the first week. And at
Christina
least it would
Clark,
send
so
you.
moved.
Jacob Murray, second.
Okay, any other discussion at this time? Okay, we will do roll call vote. And once again, all those in favor can say aye, or any opposed can say nay, or you can abstain. Dana?
Aye.
Flor?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, this motion also is approved unanimously. Okay.
Right, I'll get working.
And thank you for all that, because I'm sure it's quite a bit. So let's
No
go
problem.
to public participation. There is a 2-minute time limit, and the comments must be made to the items on the agenda. And Tony will give you the 30 seconds of a visual cue, or he'll tell you. And did my thing just, no, oh, you just read the thing. Okay.
Yeah, I stopped sharing so they could see you better.
Perfect.
Or you can see them better.
So he will give you the 2 minutes, and if you could please state your name and your address, and we will go from there. And if you could just raise your blue hand or press *9. Okay, Jennifer Galichuk.
Hi, am I there?
Yep.
Hi.
Hi there. Hi, my name is Jennifer Galashamp, and I live at 150 Timber Trail. I'd also like to disclose that I am the current Tolland Elementary PTO president, and I have served on that board for 6 years. I'd like to say that I'm thrilled that Dr. Willett's contract has been extended. As PTO president, I have dealt with Dr. Willett numerous times, and I have always been impressed with his dedication to our students, his appreciation for volunteers, and his overall kind and respectful demeanor. Personally, I'm impressed at the way he has handled every question the past few days on these long Zoom meetings thoroughly and most importantly, empathetically. I also, like many others, will face challenges with the return to school plan. However, I feel that it has been compiled with safety first, and I'd like to commend those that have contributed. I'd also like to point out how much I appreciate the work our school principals and their staffs within the committees in their schools have been doing, as the safety of the children in their buildings are incredibly personal for them. And lastly, I'd like to thank Kate Howard-Bender for mentioning the several subjects that were discussed in emails to the board this week. Specifically, to address negative communication concerns, I'd like to add that I have been hearing from concerned parents, staff, and teachers that this is an ongoing problem with the board. However, after witnessing some items on social media this week, because I spoke up, I received around 15 messages of concern in the past few days. After personally viewing the meeting tonight myself, and the interactions, I think it's paramount you continue to address and work to uphold civility and accountability. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else at this time would like to speak from the public? If you could please raise your hand. I'm gonna sneeze again. If not, we will move on. Going once, going twice. Okay, so we will move on to the points of information. If anyone else has any points of information at this time. Are we good? Any blue hands going up from board members? If not, we will move on. Dr. Willett, you can speak about anything that you would like to on the future agenda.
Sure. Excited to be able to enter a new year, and obviously we have a lot of things that we have to grapple with, but really excited about Portrait of Graduate Work. Very excited about doing some more rounds. I think we can do, some really interesting rounds this year too. So despite everything, I think we have a lot to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to that work with all of you.
Okay, perfect. I don't believe there's any new business, so I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Jacob Mari, I move that we adjourn the August 12th Board of Ed meeting at 10:13 p.m.
Christina Plort, second.
Okay, we will do a roll call, and then all those in favor say aye. Any opposed can say nay, or you can abstain. Plort?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Rainey?
Aye.
Dana? Oh, you do come after her when it goes to big sports.
Aye. Mean.
Okay, Kate?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Oh, Griffin, did I skip over you? Because all of a sudden you popped up.
You always do for ending. I'm an eye.
You know what it is? It's all Dr. Willett's fault. He moves everything, it changes everyone's placements, and there you go.
It's
so
Zoom.
everyone.
That happens automatically. That's not Dr. Willett.